Lucy, the oldest of the three, was destined to live on many years. Our Lady still wished to use her as an instrument in further revealing and clarifying her message. In 1925, she entered the convent, becoming a member of the congregation of the Sisters of St. Dorothy. 23 years later, in 1948, she transferred to the Order of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, becoming a Carmelite nun. No doubt the Blessed Mother's appearance as Our Lady of Mount Carmel was a foreshadowing of this, as well as a reminder of the promises she made to those who faithfully wear her scapular. In 1927, 10 years after the apparitions at Fatima, Our Lady again appeared to Lucy as she was praying in the convent in Spain, and gave her permission to reveal the first two parts of the secret entrusted to the children at the Cova. The first, concerning the vision of hell, and second, the spread of communism, the conversion of Russia, prophecy of World War II, and the consequent great need of devotion to her Immaculate Heart. Upon the advice of her confessor, the third part of this secret was written down by Lucy and placed in a sealed envelope and given to her bishop, with the understanding that it would be opened by 1960 or at her death, whichever came first. As one travels to Fatima today, one of the points of interest is the small house in which Lucy lived as a child. In back of her house stands the barn that was used mainly to shelter sheep. On its rough wall can still be seen two crosses placed there by Lucy to remind her to pray for her two cousins, Francisco and Jacinta. The parents of Francisco and Jacinta, Mr. and Mrs. Marto, both of whom died within the past few years, are seen standing by their house. It is a very humble dwelling, which shows the modest poverty in which these renowned parents lived to the end of their life. Seen with the Martos are two of their grandchildren, named Francisco and Jacinta, and Father Arthur Kimball, an American priest then living in Fatima. Not far from the Marto home stands the parish church of St. Anthony, where the three children, together with their families, were regular attendants. The graveyard alongside the church at one time contained the graves of Francisco and Jacinta. Later, however, their remains were moved to the great basilica, where they are now buried. The Basilica of Fatima, with its vast gatherings on great festive days, is truly a magnificent sight to behold. The interior of this impressive edifice is a shrine which attracts countless souls desirous of fulfilling Our Lady's request of prayer and penance. The main altar is of modest proportions and bordered on each side with a statue of our Lord and His Blessed Mother. In the two transepts on each side of the church are buried the bodies of Francisco and Jacinta. Once again are seen the festive crowds that gather on the 13th of each month from May to October to celebrate the anniversaries of the apparitions. So warm and personal is the devotion of these people to Our Lady, and so truly do they sense her presence, that thousands of white handkerchiefs are waved as her image is carried by. This gesture of devotion, though now an established custom, is perfectly spontaneous and genuine. This small structure is the Chapel of the Apparitions, and is located over the spot where once stood the small home oak tree, over which the Mother of God appeared to the children. It was here that she gave them her message for the world. It was around this spot that the vast multitude of 70,000 witnessed the miracle of the sun. The late Bishop of Leiria, under whose jurisdiction is the village of Fatima, is here seen blessing statues for the people at the Chapel of the Apparitions. These pilgrims carry home from this hallowed shrine not only articles of devotion, they carry away in their hearts the message of Our Lady, determined to live it and to bring it to others. they remember her pledge that if not enough people fulfill her requests, Russia's errors will spread throughout the world, promoting war and persecution of the church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will suffer much, and many nations will be destroyed. The statue of Our Lady is being carried in procession on a gold carriage. It is customary on the 13th of May and October to deck the carriage with pure white flowers. After the procession makes its way up the steps of the basilica, the statue will be placed beside the temporary altar erected in front of the main entrance. A special Mass for the sick takes place at 12 o'clock noon. At times, the excessive heat at midday gives the sick and others present an added opportunity for a little penance. When the Mass is over, our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament is brought down to the sick who receive his blessing. Comparatively speaking, only a very few of the countless sick brought to this shrine obtain physical cures. Yet practically all of them go away spiritually strengthened, realizing that they carry but a splinter of the cross of Christ. They are enabled to carry it more willingly and more fruitfully. Once again, the great crowds are seen waving their handkerchiefs to Our Lady. To these people of great faith, her presence is very real, and as the ceremony comes to a close, they wave farewell as her image is carried by. No doubt they are mindful of her many requests and promises. She promised salvation to all who would fulfill her requests, and world peace if enough persons would heed her message. She made it clear in her third apparition that only through her intercession would peace come to the world. If my requests are not heard, Our Lady foretold, Russia will spread her errors throughout the entire world, fomenting wars and persecution of the church. Many nations will be destroyed.